everyone. This is Short Pants Free Radio. Gamers, get your ears on because we're blowing the speakers out.
Grimdark Live. It is time for Grimdark Live. This show is for the nerds, the outcasts, the weirdos.
And for short pants gamers?
No, not you.
Ah, crap.
Get ready, all you Grimdark goons, for dice, dragons, demons, and a dwarf. Only right here on Grimdark Live.
Let's hit the fucking road!
Hey, welcome to Grimdark Live, weekly webcast for all things Dice, Dragons, Demons, and a Dwarf from the Warhammer worlds. I'm your host, Patrick, and as always, my co-host, Gary. What do you hear? What do you say, bud?
I'm ready to talk about manage our game time whenever we're playing and to make sure we make less mistakes.
That's it, man. That is it. And yeah, that's going to be our topic for tonight, man. Really big. I think we're going to boil down to, and I think we'll call this one is play 40K better. How to do that. I mean, that's pretty much the essence of what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. These are all in your control.
That's it, man.
As we know, we can't control dice.
No.
As much as Pat likes to think that I cannot.
Well,
So,
you know, folks, that's kind of interesting that Gary brought that up. And you know, one thing I want to mention is that we do have a guarantee here on Grimdark Live, and that's called the Gary Frank Guarantee, where you're guaranteed to roll a 6 on the 6 dice, your 6 game against your 6 opponent, as long as you have a 6 sense of humor. And that's, of course, if you are ordering the Grimdark Live dice. If you head over to grimdarklive.com and you get yourself your brand new Grimdark Live dice, Gary Frank, our little shaman here, he does personally bless them. I can't really tell you how that happens, or you don't really want to see how it happens. It's quite disturbing, and 4 people needed therapy after witnessing it. But you will get the Gary Frank Guarantee. And, of course, let me say that one more time, and then you're guaranteed to roll a 6 on your 6 dice against your 6 game against your 6 opponents, so as long as you have a 6 sense of humor. That is the Gary Frank Guarantee.
well, this is me looking around for Tums because all that just gave me heartburn. Just right on the bat. So.
See, this is what we do, man. This is we're like an old married couple, man. You know, I guess we can say that now, right, Gary?
Well, married couple, yes. I don't know about the old part.
Hello,
You can
everyone.
figure it out, though.
Thanks
But
for
no, today it's just play 40K better, and it's just tips for you to have better games. So.
Yeah. I mean, and you know what? And folks, I'm going to tell you right now, you're talking to a guy that definitely can offer those tips to you, man. And me, I'm just going to be like, you know, some village missing its idiot somewhere. I'm just going to kind of tag along and, you know, probably say some things that will get me punched by Gary later. But I'm gonna do my best here, folks.
That is a guarantee right there. So,
That is a Gary Frank guarantee. But folks, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Grimdark Live. And if you like our show, please don't forget to give our channel a like or subscribe if you haven't already done so. So here it is, Gary. So with this topic tonight, all right, I kind of want to be serious now, man. I got to be the serious one here on the show. You're always going off in left field and, you know, making ridiculous comments.
that's where I play. So what are you ready to do about it?
But with this topic tonight, and you have some direct knowledge on this very topic, and
Yep.
you know, and that's really improving your game and being a better version of yourself in this game of 40K. So you know, in what we're talking about tonight, we're obviously not just going to be talking to your, you know, to the people out there about something just as simple as familiarize yourself with the core rules. I mean, we're obviously going to be getting into a little bit more functional advice, right?
Absolutely. Look at it as just basically anything in life. The better that you prepare yourself for it, the better off you're going to do.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, that 40K has a plethora of rules, and it's not just rules for your army or your basic rules. There's terrain rules. There's all kinds of different ones that go into effect because there's different rules for different phases, so forth and so on. So hopefully after this show's over, we'll have given you a little bit of tools for you to use to be able to mitigate those to where you don't have to try and memorize everything.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and you might even get like a little like a college degree. I think this goes towards college credits, doesn't it, Gary?
A half of one minus half, so
There you
whatever
go.
that comes out to.
Well, see, folks, you know, here it is. But I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, kind of what I said before was maybe off the cuff, and I probably shouldn't have said that. But you know, as far as, you know, familiarizing yourself with the core rules, don't get me wrong. Players should always familiarize themselves with the core rules, as you know, moving and fighting, and how to use psychic powers, and shooting and charging, and all those other essential goodies are critical to a game like 40K. But we have more to discuss than just that. I mean, all joking aside. One thing that gets overlooked in playing better in 40K, I'm going to keep using that term, is most gamers seem to skip the part about choosing a faction that you love. And you talk about that. You talk about the passion behind those armies all the time.
Right. And whenever you do that, you're going to be interested in it, and you're going to just remember more of it. So that's one of the first key ones, is make sure that you're playing towards something that then you're going to remember more of it and just be better at it.
Yeah.
I hate to use the superpower terminology, but that's common sense.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I would say that it's probably one of the more underrated tips, for a new player or even a seasoned player, possibly, is when we talk about playing in this game, you're gonna have to talk about that faction that you want to play. I mean, 40K. I guess and this is something too, folks, that Gary talks about all the time. He's a pretty practical guy, and even more so since he's quit drinking, and his parole officer has given him a lot of good therapy. But but on the practical side, 40K, it's not a cheap hobby, Gary. I mean, no. Players need to be dead set on the faction that they want. They're going to spend a lot of time buying and painting their units. I mean, you've talked about this multiple times.
Right,
so
but
it's important.
It is important. Now, I'm at a very dilemma with mine. Tyranids is by far and away my favorite faction.
Okay.
But it's not my playstyle. And I've tried it for years. I had a massive Tyranid army, which I know. Reality is, this isn't my play style.
Okay.
I was going there and playing my ass off and going 3-2 or 2-3 and not really doing any. It just wasn't my play style. So I guess I couldn't say not do anything wrong. I wasn't playing it as effectively as I should be, and the arm for Tyranids didn't fit what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Which is assault and actually kill something when I did assault. So I had figured out now that Space Wolves with Grey Knights on the shelf. Because they haven't have a book yet. So, and Space Wolves, in case you don't know, they assault really well, super efficient, and they generally pick up whatever it is that they touch, which is my play style. But it took me a long time. Here's a quick recommendation before we get cut off for the news, which Pat does to me all the time. So
I will do that. Yes, folks.
Is you don't have to buy that entire army to play it. Matter of fact, you don't have to buy a single model from that army to play it. Don't have to spend a dime. And I'll tell you more about that in a minute, because I believe you're about to cut me off.
Well, I'm not really about to cut you off, but what I'm about to say is, are you staying true? Or are you sniffing glue? See?
Oh, that's the part that I was going through.
See how rude he can be to me, folks?
Well, back to the other part of that once we're done with these ones. I'm trying to minimize my verbiage here and stop stomping on here. No, I'm staying true. I'm building, always building Marine stuff now. I'm looking at probably playing with, just because I miss them and I like them, and basically going to try and do a battle report on that one too as well. So
awesome.
Look out for that one coming in.
Cool.
Building and going and playing Saturday. Going to be playing a game tomorrow. Playing games. So yeah, just try the best that you can at what I'm doing. So what about you? What are you doing?
Well, I got a secret little thing. I got my knights. They're coming good.
That's not a secret.
I'm working on another army. Let's just say that they're very much into the color green. I'm gonna leave that as a hint.
That's not it. If anybody's watched this show at all, everybody knows you're talking about Death Guard or Nurgle.
That's amazing, Gary. You're like psychotic. I mean, psychic.
That's not even but at least make it hard.
You see how intelligent this guy is, folks? I can't believe it. I can't keep a secret from anyone. See, the problem is it's like when Gary, he can keep a secret. The problem is when people he tells can't. That's the problem with Gary.
Pat saying I'm intelligent, that shows you how intelligent he is. So that's not.
So I am. I'm
not a good measuring stick whatsoever.
I am dipping my toe in the slimy pus pool that is Death Guard, and definitely looking to get into that. But here it is, folks. We're getting ready to the news. That part that Gary wants to talk about, because Gary, we got something here in the news that you're going to be all over, man. Like a cheap suit, like stink on poop, like what else? Give me another one. You're going to be on it like what?
What? Right on right.
There you go. See, he's quick, man. He's got this. All right, here it is. Here is the news. And, Gary, I really think that you're going to like this because this one is all about your army, man. I mean, Here it is. So you've heard about this, right? We got the new Hexfire box set. This is
absolutely.
Yeah.
Heard about it.
This is Thousand Suns versus your Grey Knights, man. So this is the new Grey Knights versus Thousand Suns box set is coming. It's included with the it's got the new Crow model. Now, if you went back and you watched our show from what was it 3 shows ago, Gary? I think it was.
Yep,
we talked about this guy. He's going to be the in that box, and also I guess they have a new Thousand Suns Sorcerer that's going to be in this thing as well. So all right, Gary, peel it off, man. You got to be happy as a pervert with a Playboy on this one.
Well, as long as and I'm not going to be to open with bad news, but I'm open with bad news. You better not screw this up, GW, with your releases. If I can't get these, it's going to be a problem. I think they're going to be okay because the good thing about this is I never have been a fan of releasing a book inside of the box unless it's like AOS 3.0 or Indominus when 40K had reset and you're putting the core rulebook in there. That's all fine. But you should never release that has the armies book in the box.
Okay.
Because now you're running into supply chain issues with you only have them available in the box. This one doesn't.
Right.
So you have the box and then the books are on their own.
Yeah.
I'm assuming from the way that this reads that they're going to order at the same time to go through it.
Exactly.
But it's a very great box to start with, not only because of the badass Castell and Crow model that's in there and the fantastic Thousand Suns model that's in there as well. The items you get on the 40K side of things are the Grey Knight side of things. You're going to have an HQ. You're going to have your strike squads, and you're going to have the Nemesis Dread Knight.
Right.
We call them the baby carrier.
Yeah.
That's
I got a comment about that when you're done. Something I heard on the boards.
So, but the great thing is with the kits, the strike squads build purifiers. They build purgation squads. They build strike squads. They build interceptor squads. They basically build every power armored unit that you need for Grey Knights. You can pick whichever one is you want to build. Okay. In one box.
Then I have a question.
One of the very quality boxes to get for the items that are in it. Very similar to like Space Wolves. They had Wolfguard. They have a ton of bits in there as well. So that's what makes it a value for me to go in it. Now, you get the new model, which is an awesome looking sorcerer, and you get the traditional Terminators that are one of a kind looking, and there's no mistaking the Thousand Suns Terminator from any other ones because they look very Aztec-y as you go through it, and they're turquoise looking color on it. It's awesome. And Zangors are also a staple that's in any Thousand Suns list.
Yeah. And with Zangors, kind of like what we talked about before, you can be bi-dicual with that with that unit. Because here in Grimdark Live, we're bi-dicual. We do a Age of Sigmar show. We do a 40K show. Gary and I are bi-dicual.
And here you go. And you said I took the left turns.
What are you talking about? No, actually, okay. I want to go back. The box set. Here's the thing. I do like the fact that Zangors are in there. I like this box set a lot. I really, really like this box set a lot. And I know that you're a huge fan of the Grey Knights. And honestly, you that was going to be the teaching army, if you will, for me for 40K, if you remember that.
Yep.
But here's the thing I've been hearing about. I guess a lot of people. I'm going to say this again. I love the box set. I love it. But a lot of people.
I think I know where you're going with this.
When I was reading about this on the boards, a lot of folks were kind of honked off that the Grey Knight side of the box was full of what they were calling mini Marines, and they use that term baby carrier as well. Yep. Why is this such a negative thing for them? Why all of a sudden are people bent out of shape? I mean, I get it. Bitching and gaming go hand in hand. If you can bottle it, you make $1 billion. But what are there any issues with that, or just people being moody?
Well, Grey Knights are not going to get Primaris Marines, and they should not.
Because they look at them as tainted, right? Because of the whole.
No, they don't look at them as tainted. It's just Grey Knights are Grey Knights, are what they are. They're very specific chapter that was created for one thing, and that's what they do. So to try and add new outside units into that, outside of the Firstborn Marines, is just now you're just going straight power grab.
Oh, I see.
If you're going to have Grey Knights
and
Primaris, there's no reason to play them as anything else.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Okay.
Because now you get the best of everything. Every model's a Psyker. Every model has X, Y, or Z that goes to it, and the price point would be ridiculous. And this leaves, personally, this is my opinion, right? I don't have to go out and buy a whole bunch of other stuff now. I got to pick up the Castellan Curl model and then just stay within that gray light range.
Right, sure.
Which is,
sure.
Pick up some Nemesis Dread Knights, maybe get some more Terminators or Paladins, plenty of troops. I have all that stuff to go with it. I don't have the new model, obviously, and I don't own any of the Nemesis Dread Knights because I played Paladins and Terminators largely is what I played with. So, but that's them just complaining. I have yet to see a release where it comes out to where there wasn't complaining about something. Now, I will say that if these two play against each other straight out of the box, the Thousand Sons are up against it because
right.
They give them the other one, but that's not the point,
Yeah, I think my takeaway on this is I love the box cover. I think it's really, I think the artwork is awesome. I mean, the two new models are pretty great.
Yep.
And let me go back. The reason why I thought that maybe they wouldn't like the Primaris Marines is because the whole thing about Call keeping them for however many thousands of years redesigning them. I heard something, or at least I thought I heard something, that the Grey Knights kind of looked down their nose at that they weren't really favorable with that.
I'm sure they do. And remember, Grey Knights are just specific. There's a reason why they're the Hammers of Titan, and their chapter is 666. They're there to do one thing: destroy demons.
Exactly.
Not, hey, we're this Primaris. I don't care. You weren't a part of what we're doing. We don't trust you. You stay away from me.
Right.
Like a Grey Knight, uncorruptible.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing that says a Primaris Marine is uncorruptible.
There you go. Yeah. So that's kind of where I was going with that with my first thing. But again, back to this box here. I think the box art is really nice, and the two new models are pretty great. Yep. I really thought that the Zeech Sorcerer was pretty awesome looking. But it's funny when I look at the I think it's the Strike Squad kit.
Yep.
I think is nice as well. I think that's all pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, the kit's very nice when it goes to it. The new Thousand Sun model is the Infernal Master.
Okay, all right. I couldn't remember what the name was. I knew I read that earlier on the release that came out I think yesterday. But here's my question. And again, the GW, shame on you, man. Shame on you. You let another one slip through your eyes there. Get the QA/QC process going. Zeech Sorcerer. Clearly summoning screamers, and they're not putting any screamers in the box. Whoops. I mean, were there supposed to be screamers in the box? I think screamers in the box would have fit more than, say, Zangors, my humble opinion.
Well, the difference is this is a Thousand Suns release, and screamers are demons.
Yeah, but they're still Zeech.
But they're not Thousand Suns.
Okay. All right, we're splitting. Okay. All right.
The other, why is he summoning screamers when they're not in their book? Other than it's cool. Now, they might be let me reel that back. Currently, that's in a different book. In the new codex, they might actually be in there.
Okay. All right, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, to me, I guess where my mind goes is that,
that should be in there. You're right.
It makes more sense. You put them on the freaking cover of the thing. Shame on you, GW. Shame, man. What's the matter with you?
There's no cookies in this box.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. So, but yeah, that's the news, man. I thought you'd be happy about that. Look, folks, look at how happy Gary is.
No, yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm sure you can, man.
Now, I'm going to have to. And they did say, we'll let you know soon. Well, we all know what GW's version of soon is.
Oh, yeah.
Could be still talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't hold your breath. All right, we are.
No, don't do that.
We're going to come back and talk about how to play 40K beta. Stick around.
A public service announcement brought to you by Frag Factory 3D Printing. Many of us have thousands of dollars in miniatures, yet we play on flat tables with books and overturned Tupperware to act as our fantasy and sci-fi landscapes. We've all drooled over the tables we see in magazines, lush with beautifully created terrain from all genres. The crew at Frag Factory 3D Printing want to wipe that drool from your chin and put it firmly on your friends and fellow gamers when they see your setup. Alien landscapes, desert wastelands, futuristic cities, fantasy outposts, elven forests, demonic stronghold, and so much more. Find out what you've been missing by checking us out on Facebook at Frag Factory 3D Printing or send us an email at fragfactory3dprinting@gmail.com. Bring your own files or we will help you find what you've been searching for. Take your gaming to the next level with Frag Factory 3D Printing. We print life into your games. Tell them Grimdark Live sent you, and your first hour of printing is free.
Hey gang, in all seriousness, get your terrain on the table and get it with Frag Factory 3D Printing. And remember, tell them Grimdark Live sent you and they'll give you 1 hour free. You can get them via email at fragfactory3dprinting@gmail.com or their Facebook page, Frag Factory 3D Printing.
Frag Factory 3D Printing. Printing life into your games.
Now, back to the show. All right, we are back, and we are talking about how to play this game of 40K better. And gang, you know, with this topic tonight, you know, we're going to have some conversation points on how to really up your game. That's what I really mean when I talk about, you know, how to play 40K better, as it were, in this game. I mean, this is a pretty competitive game, and in other words, you know, when we talk about how to play it better, we're an opinionated show. Gary right here is a guy that's run a lot of great tournaments. He's got a lot of street cred. He's an ITC rep. The guy knows a little something about a little something when it comes to this game of ours. So when we talk about it, there are things that you may agree with, you may not agree with, and that's cool. We can have that dialogue. You know, leave your comments in the chats, and we will we'll roll with that, man. We want to hear from you guys. But let's get started, man. So Gary, when we talk about upping your game, we talk about how to play 40K better. How do we?
Well, the very first goal through everything I'm about to go over, I'll cover this at the beginning and at the end. You never want your opponent to be waiting on you. You want to be able to have all the either markers that you need, cards that you need, whatever, and go through your turn fluidly. Because when I say not waiting on you, it's not waiting on you to finish your movement phase or anything like that. It's waiting for you to look up a rule or what the casting value of something is, or waiting for you to go, did I cast it on this unit, or what's the buff on that unit? Those are the things that I mean. Because now, not only is your opponent waiting on you, your opponent is now unsure of what it is that you've done and if we're now in a fair game or not.
I see.
So everything I'm going to go through with that is going to be for the goal for your opponent not to be waiting on you, for you to play efficiently and as accurately as possible outside of movement and deployment, because those are things that are just models that you do with. But outside of that, there's tons of other things that go into the game. How to track buffs, how to understand what your units do, what's on their data sheet, those kind of things. For you AOSers that may be tuning in, War Scroll.
Right.
So those type of things.
Right.
So the first thing that you do is you have your army list printed in your hand, not on your phone, in your hand. That way you can go through and just pick it up and look at it. And you can also highlight things. Like I always underline whoever my warlord is on my sheet, I'll put it in big black letters and underline it. Whatever psychic powers that I have, I'll put them in italics or whatnot so I can go right to them. And then I'll list them to what the warp charge value is in the range, because you know what it does. So now you can just briefly glance at it, not have to dig through a deck of cards or any of that to go, okay, it's warp charge 6, range is 18. And then I would put LOS next to it. LOS means line of sight required.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't have to it, it's not required. So that's just for psychics to go through. And then you've got other ones for tokens and items like that. So the first thing that you want to do is have your army list printed out. Now, I'm old school on this. None of my friends do this. I print out, even if it's just a practice list, because I'm practicing with it, but I want it to still be as efficient, and muscle memory is a thing, and I'm a military guy, and we always went through so if you're practicing like crap, you're going to play like crap.
That's true.
How I look at it there. So have your army memorized and you know it back, forth, and sideways. Your opponent doesn't, and he can look at it. And now list, and then your opponent doesn't believe you and they stop to look it up. Now, what have you done? You're not waiting on you. That's a difference.
Yeah, I like your approach on that. I like your
I have my opponent and I'll be like, crap, I don't remember what this does, and I have to find my book, go through, dig it out, and all of that jazz. But there's a friend of mine, Elliot, is one of the the best 40K players in the state. And I think it's outside in the state. And whenever we were driving to an event, he's in the back seat, old school legal pad, pencil, writing it, just as a sheet for him to keep with him, so he doesn't have to wait on anything. He can just refer to it.
Right.
So Army list, however you want to break it down, do it that way. But that's the first start. And it doesn't matter if you're playing kill team at 500 points, or the standard 2K. Have your list out, ready to go. And you can take all the nonsense off of it. I mean, you don't have to have every weapon pro, because you're going to know that. You don't have to look up what the range of a bolter is. Everybody knows this. But if you're playing Grey Knights, like, because this stupid new box coming out has got me thinking I can win with them again, even though they're all missing a wound and they're overcosted, but whatever.
Sure.
There's a lot of things to keep track of. So first thing, like I said, is Army list. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I like how you started out with the courtesy. I like how you actually, you're remembering the social contract of the game. When you talk about, I
don't want you waiting on me.
Yeah.
Because I've got things that I want to do. And also, if you're means now my brain isn't thinking about the turn, the movement, or what I need to do. It's thinking about this one ability that I can't remember.
Right. Right.
So keep your Army list and keep your little cliff notes on your Army list.
Yeah, and let me back up what you said on the Army list so that I can, so that, because I think I want to, Army lists. I think what you're saying is they come in the form that you want. They come in the form of your list to simply list your units that the player has, that you have.
Right.
However, Army lists can also they can comprise your special skills, your strategies, your detachments, and other data players may need to reference of what they want to do with their units in the battle. So you're pretty much saying make sure your opponent isn't waiting on you and understands what your list is. That's great. Exactly.
Don't hide anything. As soon as you start to hide stuff and look for God, you and I are going to have a completely different game.
Yeah. Okay.
That's just for competitive wise. Practice wise, things like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring up a app that everybody uses in 40K, or the vast majority do. It's Battle Scribe.
Sure.
So this app that you can use, and it has a ton of information on it. You don't need all of that. So once you've done your list of Battle Scribe, put it on a Word document and get rid of like half of that stuff that's on there, and just have. I like to go HQ1, and whoever my warlord, and then I'll put like a bullet format underneath it. Warlord trait. Here's the psychic powers, whatever it is that he has, and move on to the. Just movement. I don't need what his gun is. I don't need any of that. We already know that. Terminators move 5. These move 6. All that stuff is on there. If they new and you need that, I would recommend going and just creating a data card and taking that with you. That way you still have a quick reference instead of going to your book. And a lot of people go, oh, it's in your book. I said, yes, but you also have 50 pages of other things.
Sure.
If you just have a quick reference, it's just the sheets of each one of your units. Works great.
Yeah.
Battle Scribe have a thing called Butt Scribe. That's literally what it's called. Is Butt Scribe.
Butt Scribe.
Right. So you take your file from, and I'm getting off trail a little bit here, but I'll go right back to it. You can take your Butt Scribe, hit a button, and it will give you all those data sheets, like they're right out of the book, and then you can just print those out and take a
That's
new
awesome.
army, and I just keep it with me. And also, if I know my army really well, I will hand that whole pack to my opponent and go, here, just so they can see it and they know what it is that's going on.
Sure.
So that's one. Make sure your armies are squared away and army list is squared away, so you're not waiting on that. So that's the first tip.
Okay. Good
The
one.
second one that I'll go into is make. And AOS does a great job of this. I don't know why 40K hasn't done it, and it's very irritating to me. Because like markers, it'll say +1 save, or they'll have one that says Mystic Shield or whatnot.
Right.
It comes with the game.
Yeah.
40K is like,
we're not doing that.
or you can buy the decks of cards. Can't find the picture at the moment, or a package of. for everything. And yeah, you can flip through all of them, but after a while, you're going to know what they are.
Right.
You want to keep those as a reference, pull out the ones that you use. But I like to take poker chips and then write down +1 cover. So whenever I have a spell, this chip next to the unit.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll put, or a red token means this, or a green token means this. That way, as you're going through it, try and remember all the psychic powers you put on, or all the stratagems you use, those kind of things. So those are markers that you put on your what's on them, and your opponent knows. And now we're not going to wait to try and remember, hey, did Sanctuary go off on my, or didn't it? Do you remember? I know I failed one. Was it that one?
Yeah.
Or was it this?
Yeah.
You know,
Markers are so critical.
Your opponent's your stuff. It's yours. And yours is to keep track of it in a manner that you and your opponent both understand what has what.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's the second one. Make markers for what it is that you're doing.
Right.
Then on a third one is stratagems that you're using are in the right phase and at the right time. There's a very good way to do this, and I highly recommend this down yourself or typing out yourself and not going and printing this part out.
Yeah.
The reason why is because stratagems are very important, integrated part of the game. So specific times generally. Some will say during the movement phase. Okay, which means any time in your movement phase, you can use that particular strategy. I would recommend creating a column that says pregame. Any stratagems you have that's pregame, you list them right there. So this is a check off for you. I want to do, oh yeah, I want to outflank this unit because that's going to shoot me to death. So let me get this off the table.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you're going to go in game is deployment. So what are all your stratagems that you use during deployment? Put those down. Just by the name, you don't have to put the actual stratagem down. And if you're really new or you're doing a new army, next to the stratagem, you can put a little parentheses. You don't have to put the whole thing out. Like if it's a redeploy stratagem, you can just put parentheses redeploy and how many command points it is. So you can go do anything. No, I'm good.
Right.
And you go, what do I do in my command phase? Now, here's the important part. There's some stratagems say the start of your command phase.
Sure.
Some of them say your command phase. Some of them say the end of your command phase, right? If you go and use a different stratagem in your command phase, you're no longer. So if you use one that says during your command phase, I technically you would be if it says during your command phase.
Mm-hmm.
But you're getting my point. End. Command phase is a poor example because there's not a lot that goes on other than I gain a command point. My chapter masters are going to give rerolls to this guy. Those are things that happen during the command phase.
Right.
So anything that you can do that's a stratagem or ability, you want to have it in that section. So you can just go through and look at it real quick and go, okay, I don't want to forget this. Put my chapter master is going to put rerolls on this.
Yeah.
And maybe the order you want to do it in. Here's what I mean by that. And some people are like, well, that's just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't matter.
It makes sense to me. Yeah, absolutely does.
Well, this part, like, so one of the big Marine units that gets used is a Primaris chaplain on bike. You can use 2 litanies, and there's 7 of them total. He knows one, and he picks 2 from the other 6. And it goes off on a 2+. One of the reroll hits in combat. So you roll your dice, and oh, shit, I rolled a 1.
Right.
That's a that can give reroll hits to a unit. So I want this unit to have reroll hits. So now my chapter master is going to give that unit rerolls.
Okay. All right.
Chaplain's litany goes off. You don't need to do that. You just keep them in the aura with him, and everybody gets rerolls in combat. And the chapter is something else.
Sure.
So the order of operations is important for you not to screw yourself over.
Got it.
And you want to do that for each phase. For your stratagem, movement phase, shooting phase, so forth, so on. Like if it says at the start of your movement phase, you got to do that before you move any of your models. Then you go back and try and use it, and your opponent says no because it says the start. Don't get mad at them. That's your fault.
Right.
use it when you're supposed to. There's a reason it says the start. There's a reason it says the end. There's a reason it says any time. You don't get to arbitrary. It doesn't matter. Well, it does because it says start of the movement. And if you've moved 8 units, you're obviously not the starting movement phase anymore. Yourself a favor.
Yeah.
Take a listing of your stratagems and put them down in the order that they need to be done. And what I like to do is just say start and just put in bullets the stratagems that are at the start. And then the other ones are movement and ones are the end, and then move on. And that's going to help you move along faster throughout the game and not have your opponent waiting on you and not have to call a judge. So, if you go back to the start of a phase to use a stratagem that you've obviously not used.
Yeah. So I really like the stratagem part of it. Let me kind of sum up what you said because it makes a ton of sense to me. And as myself as a fairly new 40K player and turning out to be a pretty damn good one, I'd like to throw out there. To me, there are 3 basic.
Didn't throw that very far, by the way.
It was more of like
threw it out there. It was like from here to here.
It was a power lob. I power lobbed it. So to me, Gary and everyone else, there's 3 basic stratagems in my mind. There's re-roll any dice, command re-roll. There's attack after an enemy charge, counteroffensive, and a passing some type of morale test type of a stratagem. And I think players, obviously they can use these things in a limited number of times in the match, so that's where your placement is coming from. That's where you're talking about getting these things done and out in the sequence of order that they need to be done. That's the way I understand the stratagems.
You're correct. And the stratagems for 40K, this is where the challenge would be for you, Pat, when you're switching to playing 40K.
Right.
Is the amount of stratagems that are involved going into this.
Right.
In AOS, they've added some of that in 3.0.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, they have. Yep.
And then your command abilities now, you can only use 1 per phase. And you have multiples that you... That's kind of a... I don't want to make like light or fun of anything, but that's kind of a very... stratagems in 40K.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. No, and I understand the whole stratagem piece because obviously there's and I also understand that various factions offer additional stratagems that players can use based on the faction that you're going to be playing. So there's a lot to be organized and understanding there, not only for yourself but for your opponent. Right. And I think to sum it all up, right, Gary? Stratagems give players an idea of how the different armies or their factions actually fight the game, right? That's basically it boiled all out of the pot.
Yep, stratagems are the synergies that you can do with your army.
Much better way to put it.
Based off the different abilities that they have.
Yeah, much better way to put it.
Yeah, like for instance, you're an Imperial Knight guy.
Love them. Best army in 40K.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Now let's slow down. You're getting a little ahead of yourself. So I'm going to give you a quick trivia question. You're not allowed to look up anything.
Okay. Look, hands up. Not on the keyboard.
Yeah. Okay. I can't see that, but I'm sure the crowd will. So rotate ion shields. When do you do this?
I would rotate my ion shields when the opponent declares a target, right? When they're gonna shoot my knight.
Yep, and then that's when you do it. The key word there is target.
Right. Yeah, not shoot. Target.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's not like the shooting phase or any of that. It's when it's targeted. So for all you old Magic players out there, that's the trigger. When it says I'm targeting that, I'm going to shoot cannon squad there.
Right.
And you go, okay, I'm going to spend 1 or 3 CP, depending on which one it is, and I'm going to rotate ion shields for 4+. Also, the reason why this is important is because you can't use that stratagem again in that phase. Mm-hmm. So now if I want to actually kill something else, shoot at something that he doesn't necessarily want to spend that on.
Right.
So it puts him in a different situation.
Yep.
But so that's the first one passed on there. So
well, I think this is a good start to this conversation. I know that that we got a few more things we want to get to, and we're going to be right back to that. But folks, so far to kind of break down what we talked about, get your army lists ready. Understand what you have to have on paper to play the game for not only for yourself but for your opponent, and have some type of a marker to indicate what occurred throughout the battle, throughout the round. Did I use this stratagem? Did this guy fight? Did this guy charge? All those kinds of things are extremely important. And stratagems, man. man. Stratagems. Basically, you got to remember, this tells you how your army is going to fight. But, Gary, we got more to talk about here, right?
So we do.
All right, we are
got a lot more
coming.
to talk about.
We're coming right back with more on how to be an awesome 40K player, like me, playing Knights, getting all the questions right, huh? I rotate those ion
You've been
shields.
asked one question. It's like the most common strat they use.
Hey, you know what? It's still 100% in my book. I'll
But
take
we'll
that.
do this point. We'll have us back.
Hey gang, I wanted to take a break in today's show to introduce one of our sponsors and a great store for all of your hobby needs. That's GameStorm Gaming in Lamont, Illinois. Open 7 days a week, 12 to 12. GameStorm Gaming has got you covered for all of your hobby and gaming needs. They got Magic the Gathering, War Machine, X-Wing, Game of Thrones, Force of Will card game, PC gaming and repair, Warhammer 40K, and Age of Sigmar, and a ton more. Grab paints, brushes, cases, dice, and a lot more at GameStorm Gaming in Lamont, Illinois. Stop in and see John and the gang there at GameStorm Gaming, located at 1243 State Street, Lamont, Illinois, or check them out on their website at GameStormGaming.com. Again, that's www.GameStormGaming.com. They also stay open past midnight for special cases and events. So get over there and get your nerd on with GameStorm Gaming, 1243 State Street, Lamont, Illinois, 630-243-9330. Again, that's GameStorm Gaming, 1243 State Street, Lamont, Illinois. GameStorm Gaming is a proud sponsor of Grimdark Live. We hope to see you there. Hey, you Grimdark Goons, thank you so much for joining us on the show. But hey, if you're new to the Grimdark Live experience, please don't forget to subscribe, follow, and like our show. This way you'll always know when it's time for Grimdark Live. And if you're a returning listener, thanks for being back. We love all you dice-chucking, glue-sniffing gamer goons. Also, please recommend us to your friends, as Grimdark Live is a great show to get your nerd on every week. And if you like some after-ear action, give our podcast a listen after the live show. The podcast is typically published a couple of days after the live show. The link to the podcast is in the show notes below. And if you're already listening to our podcast, you rock, man. And if that ain't enough for you, check out our website at www.grimdarklive.com. Again, that's grimdarklive.com. All right, now let's get back to the show.
All right, we are back, and we're talking about how to be a better 40K player. So come back from the break. We talked about army lists, we talked about markers, we talked about stratagems. We got it all, right, Gary? Now we're awesome 40K players, or is there more?
No, there's more.
All right, let's have at it, man.
So as we're going through, I wanted to make this as important for markers for people to remember, is because you have psychic powers as well. And since I'm going to be using a Grey Knight, very good example. So in 40K, whenever you have a psyker doing psychic powers, you have 3 available to them. You have to do all 3 with that psyker and then move on to the next one.
Okay.
And you can't repeat them. In other words, if I fail, I can't do that again.
I got you.
It's a one and done type thing. So with that being said, armored resilience, very important. It's a casting value of 6, range of 12, and it says when resolving attack, that 1 from the wound roll. So that's the very good defensive spell. So whenever I cast it, I want to make sure that my opponent understands that, hey, this unit, when you roll the hit, you're going to be negative. So I'm going to put a marker there or something to signify that. This is after all stratagems and all those kind of things have been done.
Yeah.
The reason why I do is because your opponent may have a stratagem that says they get +1 to wound, which now negates it. So he doesn't have to ask you armored resilience, and you go, shit, I don't remember. Right. I know Sanctuary is on this one, and I know that I gated that one, and I know Superior on that one, and I know I did ethereal manipulation over there, but I don't remember I did armor resilience on. and now you're at an impasse.
Right. Yeah.
So do that for everything. And there's litanies as well that goes off. There's a ton of stuff that needs to be tracking of it. I'm just talking, and this might scare some folks. They're actually pretty easy to keep track of in comparison to some of the other armies that Pat was talking about playing.
Sure.
They've got contagion range.
Oh, yeah.
That's not even an aura.
Right.
You can't turn it off, and it's on different models. So all you Death Guard players out there, just get a marker that says, and put it next to it, hey, this means the contagion range is within 1 inch of these models.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think that's you have to do that. So
right,
many
that
things are
way I
happening
know.
in the game. So many things are happening, and you know, it helps the flow of the game. Absolutely.
Right. And if your whole arm, just get a big ass marker, like a big one that's got an inch number on it, and just set it on the table and go, currently the contagion range is army.
Right.
You know, and to keep track of. And this might get us one of our first backlashes out there that are too lazy to do that. You're the problem.
Bingo.
You're the reason why this takes forever. You're the reason why things can't get remembered. Went off of gotcha moments, not actually off of people knowing what's going on.
Yep.
And that's bad on you, and that's why most people end up winning the events at the end. Because other players won't put up with it. They'll go, no, you didn't do that, and you can't prove to me that you did.
Yeah.
So now what do? You get the old dice roll off. So we'll get away with markers. Everybody knows. One of the cool things that I was about being a nerd is I liked having all of that stuff. When I was a D&D guy, and I was playing that every Friday night at my kids' house, and all that information that was on your character sheet, to me, that was just awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah,
I really like this kind of stuff to go through it. And if you put it out there, now there is no, well, I didn't know that. Well, I did everything I could, but take a picture of it and hand it to you.
Yeah, exactly.
And all of that for you to go through it. So that's the first one, is your list and keeping track of your stratagems, spells, to where you know where everything's at and where your opponent is.
Right.
It's not that hard, and you only have to create it once. You don't have to repeat it.
Yeah.
Until you, right.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny. You know, you got me thinking about something, and I'm going to kind of divulge here a little bit if I can, or diverge, I guess, a little bit here if I can. When you talk about markers, you talk about, you know, game indications. I find that 40K is a little bit less forgiving when it comes to the what you see, what you get kind of a thing.
Yep.
And the one thing I can say, please, 40K players, I'm doing this because I'm just a maniac about it. But when I was coming in and learning the game, you know, can you just equip the war gear according to the purpose? Can you just have that war gear on the models? You know, try to make units particularly, efficient in what they do. For instance, what I'm talking about here is if you have an anti-tank unit, anti-armor unit, it should have anti-tank weapons. You know, for instance, what's the example you used the other day that I ran into? The dreadnoughts. You know, they can stop most tanks with las cannons, right?
Right.
But become anti-infantry with assault cannons. Yeah. So I think that's part of two. I think that ties back into the list and also ties into the social contract of gaming when we talk about, you know, having the right stuff on the field in addition to the right materials to help you support your army. Sorry, right. I wanted to throw that out there before my brain fell out of my ear.
But your 100% correct, and that was actually flowing way into where I was headed for the other way to do that.
Oh, you see, I guess I too am psychotic. I mean psychic.
Oh my goodness. So an RTT, which is your Rogue Trader tournaments, is typically between 8 and 20 people.
Right.
Or a major. Any GT or any major typically is going to require that you be painted, and your army is what you see is what. So your army list is what's on the model.
Yep.
RTTs can be a little bit more relaxing on that. That's testing grounds, but they don't let it get too crazy. Like, you don't have to be painted, but then you can't win best overall.
Sure.
You know, and see is what you get. You need to say, hey, is it okay if I use this as a proxy? It's the same size, blah, blah, blah. I'll ensure my opponent knows. Because if you don't, then you're just trying to do the gotcha moment thing again.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and you don't want that label. Community.
No, because you know what? This is a big community in a small world.
Yep. And once you get that label, you're going to find it difficult to get pickup. You're going to be at the RTT sitting by yourself, eating cold meatloaf, as Pat likes to say.
That's it.
Because people don't want anything. If you show up and you have proxies, because I understand it's expensive and you want to try things out, and you go, hey, this model is actually more tearing through the entire game. Now, it's okay if you say, for me anyway, I'm not saying this is for all event organizers.
Sure.
But you look at your opponent, it's not the real model. I understand it's not the right size. So you will able to see him no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Always. I don't care what the terrain is. You know, because that's, you got to give some sort of leeway through that. Now, going into that part, a lot of army the same whenever you're across the table. Like my Space Wolves, I've got 20 Vanguard vets. They all have Storm Shields and Lightning Claws, and they're all painted. How is my opponent supposed to know what unit's what?
Yeah, you do something courteous like mark the bases or something.
Right. Or Space Wolf squad, one unit, all of them have black hair and a wolf head. The other unit are all different colors. So that's, or you can do, it doesn't look pretty, but you can do rubber bands. But if you want to be, let me say, not the right way, if you want to do it a better way, there's a company that sells squad markers that you just paint and they've got little tips on the front and the back, and you can see the different colors. That's perfect. Because I've never particularly been one that liked to have strike Marines have black bases, then 10 have brown bases, and then 10 have red bases, and then 10 have yellow bases.
Sure.
It's more permanent to me. But if I can slide these markers on and off, then we're good to go.
Yeah, the markers are a good idea. I like that.
Yep. Or if they're head, you are the insane hobbyist, and their shoulder pads are all different colors to signify what they are. So make sure your opponent's not waiting on you to go, oh, you killed 4 guys out of the red unit, and I pulled 2 from the blue unit, and I've already moved. Now you're a mess. So make sure easily identifiable by your opponent, not you that sit there and stares at him every day and go, well, I know this is that squad. I'll look at him every day. So when you go up, make it again. So we're not waiting to go through it. These squads are this, so forth, so on, and at an event. Now, if you're at a practice game and you're going there to test out, and this is what I had brought up at the beginning of the show.
Right.
Gray Knights. Pat, you want to try, you've played 40K enough to graduate from elementary school, something else. You don't need that army. You don't even really need the models. You can get the where you want to with them, and then just practice.
Yeah,
don't
right.
Take that to a store. Just see how it flows, how it feels.
Sure.
Is this something that you go spend anywhere from $400 to $1,200 on an army, and then have to build it, and then have to paint it, and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you can set that up, and that's different. Those are called practice games with your friends, and they might want to try it out as well.
Yeah, and I think that's crucial to the development of you as a hobbyist. Not only that, but you as a gamer, because that goes back to what we talked about before, is at the beginning of the conversation here, that making sure that the army that you're getting yourself into is one that you actually A, want to play, B, like to play, and C, know how to play.
Yep.
And so you proxy the crap out of it. You know, cut little 25 millimeter or 32 millimeter or 40 millimeter size bases and move them around on a table. Throw dice.
Or if you have an army, because most of them have 32 millimeters, you have Death Guard, and you want to try to play
right
Gray Knights.
Yep.
Your Terminators are the same size.
Exactly. Yeah.
Get 10 yellow rubber bands and put it around one of you and say, hey, this is a 10-man paladin squad.
Right.
The guy with 2 yellow rubber bands on him and then you can practice and go out that way before you go out and buy that stuff.
And I can say
Because-
that you're one of the first guys I've ever come across that actually has used those little rubber bands on those models. And I got to tell you, it's far and away better than painting the base. It's far and away better than having some type of different like nomenclature or something on the model.
Right.
It really is freaking brilliant. I mean, but have you ever run into an issue with a tournament organizer, a TO, that says, "Hey, man, what's with all the rubbers on the models?"
Frontline Gaming did it one year where they didn't let you use rubber bands to. They wanted you to use like the base markers.
Oh, sure.
Go through it, and I think it was more from a visual.
Okay.
Games Workshop and them were like side by side in filming, and Games Workshop didn't want to have models that were on their stream had rubber bands all over them. And then my response to Games Workshop would be then you need to create something units. And they would probably come back, well, you can mark your shoulder pads. I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. So you need to find a different way. Only time that I'd seen that, but no, I've never had an issue. And when I went to the war meet and playing AOS to go in there, I have 80 skinks. All the rest of them are gray. I would be the biggest dirt bag in the world if I just showed up with 80 gray skinks with 4 different units. I wanted to know which unit's which.
Well, you know what? You'd be our kind of dirtbag, man.
Right. So, yeah, I can't do that because I'm the worst painter in the world.
Oh, no.
That was largely on my fault.
Oh, no, I think I got you beat on that one, man. As I've said before, I paint like a one-armed blind drunk that just fell off a tilt-a-whirl.
Making sure your units are easily identifiable is the next step.
Exactly.
To being better at what is it you're doing. Now, last ones that I'll go into here. Make sure you understand, open that mission pack up. Get the different missions. Know what the secondaries are. So in 40K, you have a primary mission each game. And typically, every mission in the Grand Tournament pack, the primary mission is either, if you hold one objective, it's 5 points. 2 objectives, 10 points. 4 points. Some of them, those are called take and hold. The ones that are called domination, you have to hold 2 for 5 points.
Right.
And then you check for your opponent. Now, remember this. If you hold 2 objectives, holds 1, that's not always 15 points.
Okay.
Because, like, if it gets you 5, 3 objectives get you 5 more, and holding more than your opponent gets you 5 more. In those missions, and your opponent holds 1, you get 10 points.
Sure.
You get 5 points for holding 2, 5 more for holding more.
Right. Yep.
You don't automatically get 15 if you hold more.
Sure.
That's a mistake that's made in there. So go through that and figure out.
I think that's a mistake I've made. You want to know the truth? Yeah.
I do too. Go through and read the missions. It's easy. I know that there's at least 10, 15 minutes a day to where you're by. Everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Right.
In a room, usually there's a mirror in front of you somewhere, and you're sitting down. Read. Right. Now you know what the secondaries are. You know how the objectives are laid out, and you know how it plays, and you know the rules about it. And that's helpful to your opponent.
Sure.
Or like AOS, it says once you hold the objective, it's still yours until your opponent takes it away from you, even if you leave it.
Right.
You know? And if you don't remember that, you're going to score the entire game wrong. So, and know the missions. So, have a good army list that has notes on it for you. Have markers for your stratagems, and have markers for your other abilities, and put those on the units that you use them on. Lastly, your army's identifiable. Everybody knows what it is in the missions that you're going into play.
Yeah.
If you're looking at going into a new army, do everything except buy the army.
Amen to that. Absolutely.
You can put your other army on there, dress it up however, have your army list set up the same way, have your stratagem set up the way, have your marker set up the same way, and then go through it. Because in the beginning, you train like you fight and fight like you train. Now here, if you practice like you play, then you're going to play like you practice.
Yep.
That's what's going to make you make less mistakes whenever you're on the field. Because they only control what you can when you're in situations are going to come up that you've never been in. You can't prepare for that. That's why you play more, to understand those situations whenever you, after the game is over, if you want to get really, really better at it, take notes of what you did wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Done better, take notes of what it is that you didn't do. And the last thing I'll leave you with is ask your opponent, what are you, a shooting army? Are you an assault army? What's your big deal? What's your big play? Do you have something Death Watch that you one data sheet in my army and re-roll all the wounds against it with your entire army for a turn?
Right.
If that's a thing, you should probably, especially if I ask.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but don't be surprised if you run into that person that goes, "Hey, what's your army do?" Well, I don't. You're right. You don't.
Right.
So,
yeah,
stand by.
and there are people that are going to say that. But you know, one thing that, and Gary, you're spot on. But one thing I want to add to what you said, because this is something that you taught me, was always assume that you're going to lose the initiative roll. And for me, what this means is that how I deploy my unit. You know, you always talk all the time about, you know, the only thing we can control is deployment and movement. Once you put dice in your hand, the whole thing goes out the window. This is what you talk about all the time.
Right.
And I think a lot of times people don't have enough foresight in their army list building, in their army preparatory, things they have to do, much less to how they're going to assess, possibly going second in a game. I think understanding where your key assets are, placing weaker units out of sight. I think all these things, like you're talking about too. When why I'm bringing this up is you said talk to your opponent, ask them. Do you have a shooting army? What does this unit do? Because I think that's going to help you understand how to defend those key assets, where to place weaker units out of sight, placing certain units in cover. I mean,
you bring it up. That's funny because I played AOS on Saturday. Me those questions. And I asked every opponent I played those questions.
Right. Yeah. And it just makes sense. I think moreover, I think the strategy also lets players move towards achieving their core formations and things they want to do much faster. So I think that helps tie up what we really talked about this evening. When we talk about army lists and markers and strategies and, really the whole principle about being a good fucking person, pardon my French, the social contract to gaming that, hell guys, guys, we mean it so much here at Grimdark Live, we put it in a song. Listen to the end, listen to our ending song here on Grimdark Live. It's in the song. It's our music. The social contract to gaming.
Another thing I want to say, you brought a very good point on deployment. That's another show to go through it, because that's more of like you're on the board and what you can do on the board to play better and do better is control, is deployment and movement.
Right.
And it's like, oh, we have stratagems too. You're right, you do. But there's assassins that can make it cost an extra one. Maybe you don't have the points. There's GSC strat that says, no, you can't use that stratagem. There's another strat that you can use that, but it's going to cost you an extra command point the rest of the game, Dark Elder wise, or you may be out of command point. Movement, deployment, you can control those.
Yep.
And almost every single game is lost in movement and deployment.
You're not kidding. Oh,
and TOs, I'm going to say this every show to the end of time. Terrain. You need what your terrain is going to look like for your event well before your event so you can get feedback and see if you need to adjust it. Terrain, the most destructive or most positive influence on your event. And it's not even.
Yep. I love it. Good stuff. Well, Gary, that's awesome insight, man, on how to really be a better 40K player. A lot of people, I went into this thinking we were going to talk about how to be a better tactically, a better physical player. You talked about just being also a better person, man. So bravo to you for making that a much better topic than I thought for. And I'm sure everybody else. But I got the closing thoughts, man. It's my turn to talk now.
Yeah, you brought up we could keep going till midnight on this.
Oh, yeah.
There's a ton of other things to do, but at the end of it, it's what we had discussed. So if you roll like crap, don't flip out and become an ass to your opponent because it was bad. It's hard to do. many years, and I'm not saying I'm perfect at it now, but I try.
Yeah, and that's all you can do, man. That's all you can do. And you know what? I'm going to tie that into my closing thoughts. You know, guys, I guess what I want to say is this. You know, on tonight's show, you heard Gary especially talk about the social contract of gaming. You heard him talk about, army lists and markers and, stratagems and really understanding how to be a better opponent, how to be a better person in this community. So what I want to ask everyone and really want to talk to everyone is, are you guys in a club? I am. Gary is. We're both in clubs. We're in the Grimdark Gaming Club. Grimdark Goons, I guess, is the best name we have for it. We're an Age of Sigmar club, and we're a 40K club. Does your club only play one game? Maybe it plays more. I don't know. But the biggest thing, if you haven't really understood about what we're talking about here, is the social contract. And have you been in that club for a long time? Has it been the same group of gamers for that long time? Are you growing that club? Is it shrinking? Do you ever stop and take a look around at any of that? I mean, in other words, what I'm saying is your club inclusive? Period. End of story. Inclusive. What does that word mean to you? I guess for me, what it means to me is I would rather be remembered for who I include versus who I exclude. And these days, man, we're pretty good as far as excluding people. And you see this a lot in clubs. They're very closed off. They don't want certain people in. And, what I'm proud of is this club here. I'm proud of the Grimdark Goons. I'm proud of this club that I belong to. In this club, we have vets. We have non-vets. Veterans is what I mean. We have conservatives, liberals, Christians, Jews, atheists. We have straight, we have gay, we have able-bodied, we've got crippled members. I think for us, once the dice hit the table, all those social constructs that we seem to hang on to in this game of pushing plastic dollies across the table, they all go out the window. All those social constructs, all those things that we hear about that we're bombarded with every day, we throw it out the window. And that's why we're growing. Our club is growing. It's growing a lot. And we're having a great time. And we understand who and what each other is. Because first and foremost, at that table, we're gamers. And you know what? And that makes us friends. And I don't care if somebody served in the military or didn't serve in the military. I don't care if somebody voted for this president or the last president. None of that matters. These people, we have a common understanding because you know what? We're not pricks. And the proof is in the pudding. We had 18 people at this last war meet. 18 people. That's a small tournament. Can you say the same with your club? Can you say the same honestly? I don't think a lot of you can. And I hope someday you can. I hope whatever it is, I hope you find what it is you're looking for. But if you don't have the right attitude, you won't. And I think a lot of you won't. But I think some of you will, and I hope you do. I want to put that out there because these clubs that play in these stores, that play in these basements, they're the essence of this whole community. And we've got a good one. And we have a good one because, as I said, we can look past all those things. None of us give a shit who you voted for or who you sleep with. Doesn't matter. As long as you don't cheat the game, and as long as you understand the social contract of gaming, that's it really. And you got to ask yourself if you can't say the same, there's a problem. And I guess saying that's a matter of opinion too. So yeah, that's my that's really what I have to say to that. That's everything I have, and that's a wrap for the show, man. We are done. Gary, great show tonight, man.
You too. Well said.
Thank you. Guys, we'll see you next week. Join us next Wednesday for another 40K show. And here's the thing, guys. Don't forget, on Tuesdays, we have more Age of Sigmar coming at you. And don't forget, we got battle reports coming up here, guys. We got 40K battle reports. Right, Gary?
That's fact.
And we got Age of Sigmar battle reports coming up. And you never know. There might be some other content coming down the pike. But you know what? We're going to save that to surprise you. Good night, guys. Have a great night. Talk to you later. Bye.
Grimdark Live would like to thank you for slumming it through another show with us for all things dice, dragons, demons, and a dwarf in the Warhammer worlds. We'll be back again real soon, so until then, roll them dice, fun and fair, and don't be a frickin' short pants. You can get your Grimdark Live fix on our live show or catch us on our Grimdark Live podcast. Never fear, gang. There'll be more great content from Grimdark Live coming to you each and every week. So stay tuned and stay grim, all you dice-chucking, glue-sniffing gamer goons. You're all awesome.
Looks like I picked the wrong week to stop sniffing glue.
Remember to embrace the main message here on Grimdark Live, and that's a social contract we have between gamers and the commitment we have to each other in this community. We're only as good as our last game. Check us out at grimdarklive.com, and don't forget to subscribe, follow, and recommend Grimdark Live to your friends. So long, Grimdark Goons. Until next time, may the dice gods bless you and your sweaty palms. Bye.
Hey, who you calling a short pants?